Mashed potatoes. This guy knows what I'm talking about. On the Mount Rushmore of sides for holiday dinners, and while you can buy the powdered stuff in the box or beat up some russets yourself, there is another way to make these super creamy and packed full of flavor tubers. And that is what today's poor choice is, an ode to some banging ass potatoes good enough to make you dance like this. Now, I am under the weather recording this, so apologies if my voice sounds rough, but trust me, the voice I had in that video was way worse. It sounded like sandpaper. So we're starting out with under 3 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes. I like these instead of russets for mashed potatoes, but if you're in a pinch, you can use those. I think these have the best flavor and starch content to do what we need, and there are tons of videos out there getting into the science of the starches, but I'm just gonna say these are my go-to. Rinse and peel them. Then we want to cut them into evenly sized cubes. Do your best here, but the more uniform they are, the better they'll all cook and finish at the same time. If you cook them too long, it makes them waterlogged, and not cooked long enough leaves them still solid and tough. No bueno for mashing. Get them into a large pot, and then I am using 4 cups of chicken broth for extra flavor, as well as topping off with additional cups of water. I really just want enough to cover the potatoes. You don't need to fill the pot all the way to the brim. Get these potatoes over some high heat and let them boil until fork tender all the way through. Mine took about 15 minutes. Oh, also, if you have it, peel these potatoes over some parchment or wax or butcher paper. It just makes cleanup much easier afterwards. Once our potatoes are done boiling, drain them and let them hang out for a few minutes just to make sure everything is drained. We're using a potato ricer today here to make these. I was originally gifted this 6 years ago, and I'll be honest, I thought it was for pasta until later on I learned that it was really for potatoes, and I haven't used it until today. Before then, I was just a traditional masher guy, but having done my research, this is one of the best devices if you want a creamy end product. They usually come with adjustable plate sizes. I'm using the finest setting here, and it's really simple, just like a garlic press. Potatoes go in, give it a squeeze, they come out. Do this for all your potatoes, and cover your bowl with some foil, whatever you can do to keep it warm once you've gotten through all of them. Now for our flavor liquid. This is such a good way to really control the flavor profile of your potatoes. I know a lot of people just start pouring things into the pot with the potatoes, but you never can really get a sense of how it's going to taste. So this way takes out a lot of that trial and error by isolating it to its own pot so that you can mess around, and if you mess it up, you can always start over without ruining your potatoes. And it's really simple too. I've got a whole stick of unsalted butter here that I'm going to melt over medium heat. While I wait for that to melt, I'm crushing about 5 cloves of garlic that I'll throw in to start infusing flavor. You can leave the garlic in their paper. This is just for flavor. Then I have a cup of whole milk and half a cup of half and half. Boy, that was tough to say. I'll pour these into my melted butter and garlic and give that a whisking. Then I have this leftover poultry blend seasoning from Thanksgiving that I'm going to use, but here is where you can really start playing with flavors. You can keep it simple with just some thyme or throw in some basil or anything to your heart's content. Experiment, it's only potatoes after all. I'm also adding the bay leaf to the liquid, and I'm going to whisk it all around again. Now I don't want this to boil, I really want to scald it and kind of get it to start steaming like this. So you may have to adjust your temperatures. Then I'll kill the heat and let that steep for about 5 minutes, really letting those flavors come together. After that, we'll run our liquid through a strainer, removing all those herbs. Back to our potatoes, give it a good mix, and then I'm going to add in a little bit of liquid at a time. You could put more in, but you can't take it out. So it's easier just to do this in half-cup pours. Now for this recipe, I'm adding in a cup of Parmesan cheese. So I know I'll probably have to use the full cup and a half of flavor liquid, plus maybe a little bit more milk to get the consistency I want. So if you find yourself having poured the cup and a half in and it's still not as creamy as you want them to, a little bit of that whole milk goes a long way. I'm also adding half a stick more of unsalted butter here, just to really pack that flavor in, but you can scale it back if that scares you. I just like buttery potatoes. Once the consistency of your preference has been reached, it's now time to salt and pepper. And believe me, these needed a lot of salt. So go like this. Give it a couple grinds, mix, taste, is it still bland? Repeat the process until the potatoes are hitting every part of your tongue. And just like with the flavored liquid, you can put it in, but you can't take it out. So I like to do my salt here in just small increments. So don't go crazy, otherwise you may potentially ruin your entire batch of potatoes. But it's definitely going to need salt if you want that flavor to punch. Remember, salt is a flavor enhancer. Then it's time to plate them up. Throw a little parsley on it for color and a pat of butter, and you've got an amazing creamy mashed potatoes. That'll be the rave of everything. And I'm not just talking about holiday dinners, potlucks, repasts, going out of business sales, you name it. And hey, Poor Choices Kitchen, we have a Patreon here that is linked in the description below. $1 a month is all we ask for to help support this channel, and it definitely goes a long way in these here inflated times. Hopefully, I'll be feeling a lot better for the next video, and we will see you all here next time for Poor Choices Kitchen. And by the way, even though I'm sick, I can still suggest a poor choice. Good old white wine goes a long way with these. Enjoy.